Hey guys, welcome to another Money Space with me, Kalu Aja. We're here every weekend, or should I say every Sunday, 7 p.m. We're talking money, capital markets, personal finance, and of course, the economy. And we want to make it personal to you. That's what we do here. How does the money topic of the week, of the month, affect you personally? That's what we want to do. We want to make it personal to you. So this week we're talking climate. We're talking the climate. We're talking the economy around the climate, green bonds, where's Africa's position in all of that. That's what we want to talk about today. Our topic, guys, structuring the African capital market to better support sustainable and green investment. In essence, how can Africa participate in this whole green movement that we hear about? We see what's going on, and it's very important for Nigeria as a country because Nigeria is a large fossil fuel economy, right? And so, what's our future in this whole green environment? How can we participate? We used to have the largest economy in Africa. We're still a large part of this economy, but how can we plug in? How can the banks that are driving growth across West Africa also plug in with their green initiatives in West Africa and ECOWAS? How can the green NNPC, or how can we make NNPC green? In short, how can we turn this economy around in such a way that we are creating jobs, we're plugging into the global economy, and we are participating as responsible, sustainable partners in this whole green push? I've got two guests with me today, Chizotam and Chigozie. I see Chizotam here. I'm going to wait in for Chigozie to come in. But Chizotam, hi. You want to unmute, say hello, tell our guests who you are, and then we'll just sort of talk about the background, why we're here, and take it from there. Hi, welcome. Oh, Chizotam, let me add you real quick. Invite to speak. If you take that up, and then of course we can have you in as a guest. But guys, just give a quick background. As usual, we talk about the background just to bring you guys up to speed and abreast with what's going on. I mean, if you look at what's going on in Africa, and I'll give you just one. Chizotam is here as a speaker, so let me not dive in. Chizotam, go ahead and introduce yourself to us. So we'll take it from there. I think you're muted. She's still muted. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Hi, Carlo. Good evening, everyone.
How you
Just
doing?
confirming that you can hear me
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you. Go ahead.
before I say that. Okay. I seem to be hearing your voice twice.
Oh, gosh.
Seem to be hearing you twice.
Go ahead though. You got the floor. Just go ahead. All right, so I'm going to make you sort out that audio. I think she dropped off again. So let me give you guys a background again. I'm going to make it very, very, personal to link this all up. We're from Nigeria. Nigeria's main export in the world is crude oil. Before the Ukraine-Russian war, we start to see the push in the West to make the economy, right? Or should we say investments to have this green element attached to it. We have what we call the ESG framework, environmental, social, and governance framework. Essentially, what it's doing is it's driving investments to key off or to take off on those three boxes to say, before you invest in any new project, there has to be an ESG report, just like as you have an environmental impact report. And what that has done is that you have a scaling or grading mechanism where new investments are graded according to their carbon footprint or what they are contributing to the economy in terms of carbon. And because of that grading, Wall Street can then say, and this is what was even something that was even tried to be passed by SEC. Wall Street can say, for instance, we will not invest in this project because it has a bad ESG rating or is not contributing to make the environment cleaner or it's adding to environmental degradation, things like that. Now, if you extrapolate what that is going to do for countries like Africa and Nigeria, you would then see that going forward, our exports of not just crude oil, but even of fertilizer that we use, right, to grow food to eat. Anything that has quote unquote carbon is frowned upon by the West because those things will not pass the ESG framework. It looks like it's contributing carbon, the same carbon you and I bring the boys as it's contributing carbon to the economy. So of course it's frowned upon. That then led to the United States, the banks in the United States saying they would not, for instance, invest in any new oil and gas project in the Alaskan belt, right? And also you have the European International Bank, the EIB, saying that they would not essentially fund any new project in the world that has to do with fossil fuels. And that was the narrative back then. And of course, even gas that we look at as being green and clean burning is also being put in as fossil fuels. I know in the state of Washington, for instance, they want to ban gas-powered stoves and all that, gas to your homes, and convert those homes to use other forms of power apart from gas. So what that means is that if you have an economy that has oil and gas, you are in big trouble because the West is coming for you in terms of removing the funding from those projects. So if you dovetail, if you project 20 or even 15 years down the line, you might have an economy, right, where you have a lot of fossil fuels, but you can't export, right? You can't make money from your fossil fuels. And that's going to be dangerous to countries like Nigeria. So that's why we have this topic today, where we're talking about the African capital markets, how the African markets can then be an enabler for African nations to then participate in a green and sustainable manner in the world's market, essentially. A while back, Calabar was packaging its forests because how this operates is this: if you pollute the atmosphere, of course, you get a red mark. But if you have forests that add oxygen back into the atmosphere, you get credits. So if you are Calabar, you have a lot of rainforest. Those things produce a lot of oxygen, so you get a carbon credit, and you can sell your carbon credits. So if you look at the country of Guyana, Guyana has found an immense discovery of crude oil, and Guyana is able to not just sell the crude oil, but to also package their forests as carbon credits. So they are also getting money by just preserving their dense rainforest, because that also gives them carbon credits which they can trade and also earn money. So it's not a bad thing per se, but we've got to know how to play in this game. Right now, there's something called a carbon tax. What that would mean is that it's targeted, I'll tell you the truth, it's targeted at China and India, and of course, it might also affect Africa. What it will mean is that you will see countries, especially the West, say, if you manufacture something and there's carbon, or you use a huge amount of carbon to manufacture it, then we will tax you. So that will make imports from China and from India and even from Nigeria expensive. So you see, yeah, Sugar, we'll have you back.
If everyone can hear me. I'm so sorry. Seem to be having some trouble.
Not a problem. You are back in. I can hear you. If you can hear me, the floor is yours to do your introductions. I'll just pause my mic then.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chizata Makwiwu. I'm a lawyer, and my work cuts across the capital markets and just financial services in general. And I'm also keen and interested in infrastructure projects. So I'm very excited to be having this very topic discussion today because we're all aware, continents and globally, there's a lot of movement from investing in just regular projects. That we're all aware of the climate issues, and so we know that there's a new push for investing in projects that are green and are sustainable because everyone is trying to, we don't want the continent to keep on degrading as we're using up all the resources. We need to be able to invest in renewable energy projects that will continue to sustain us even for years to come. So I'm very excited to be discussing with you, Kalu, and my other co-speaker, Chigozie. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for that introduction. Let's jump right into it, right? Just on a strategic level, is Nigeria in trouble because we export crude oil, we export gas? Is this bad news for us that we are going against quote unquote sustainability in our exports? Our products are quote unquote fossil fuels. Is that bad news for us, really?
So I don't know if I'd say, first of all, I'm a lawyer, so I'm not going to say, yes or no. I'm going to be very, diplomatic. So I don't think it's as simple as it being bad or good. I think what we need to do as a country is to develop or change our perspective and start thinking long term. So certain things that we don't even consider just even in our day-to-day activities. So for instance, if you go to the supermarket to buy your groceries, you will be handed your product in a nylon bag. If you go to a supermarket in the UK, you will be charged, first of all, for a paper bag. People are encouraged to bring their own reusable bags from home. And as simple as that may seem, it has far-reaching consequences because what they're effectively trying to do is to discourage mass production of these sort of materials that not benefit or are not, they're not renewable, things that can be consumed once. There's a lot of issues around people. You hear that the ocean is filled with nylon bags. You hear that their fishes or their whales you're seeing and they're finding microplastics even in humans now. So we don't think about those little things. I think sometimes if as a nation we change our perspective to think about how do we want this country to be in 20, 30, 40, even 100 years, if we continue to push and manufacture products that may be profitable short term but don't have long term value in terms of benefiting the climate, the environment, then we will have to deal with these issues sooner or later. And I'm sure we can already tell just looking at this year the harshness of the weather. I don't recall there being a time when it has ever been so hot. And so in this month of June, I've seen days when it is so hot, and then the next day it's raining cats and dogs, almost like there's no in between anymore. We're getting the harsh extremes of both sides. So I think, just to answer the question, I think what we need to do is to readjust our perspectives as a country and even just as citizens.
Gotcha. Great answer, Chigozie. And it says the topic is saying we're structuring the African capital markets to support sustainable and green investments. How are we doing this? Can you just walk us through this, please?
Okay. So I think generally, or the most common products you see, so capital markets, for anyone who doesn't know, is just basically an avenue to raise long-term financing. And so you have either the primary market or the secondary markets. Primary markets being where new shares are issued. So companies are issuing shares to the market. So you have like an MTN doing an IPO, a company issuing bonds to the public, like the federal government or even a corporate entity. And then you have secondary markets where you're able to trade and trade basically already existing securities. And most times what we see is that, and I'll use bonds because I think it's the most common debt instrument we see in the capital market. It's usually your conventional bonds that you see. So companies are just raising money to fund their working capital or to fund certain projects. Most times what you see is infrastructure projects, so student accommodation and all those things. But we're not really seeing, or rather we're starting to see gradually, but not at a significant pace. We're starting to see that certain companies or issuers are now targeting climate-focused projects. So you hear, for instance, of someone building or developing a student accommodation, but now they're not thinking of powering it with your usual sources. They're thinking of, investing in solar panels and sustainable ways of treating their waste, of powering their constitution. So in Nigeria, I think how the capital market is generally structured now is an nation needs to raise money. They go to the market. They have irregular investors, your HNIs, your high net worth individuals. You have your PFAs, so your pension fund administrators as well. And oftentimes you have regular investors like yourself without 10 naira, 1 naira here, and they were able to still constitute a significant investor base. And so they're just going to market and raising money. But what we're seeing now, and just like we've seen happen in Kenya, which I'm sure we'll get into in detail later, is we're seeing a gradual shift in not just raising money just for profit, but there has to be the thing that I see where it's called, for profit, but also for conscience. Because if you are developing businesses in an economy or a market, you need to be able to not just take money out and give to your investors, but you also need to be giving back to the environment in terms of having consideration for how can we not further degrade the environment, because we know that we can already see the impact, like I mentioned. So I think it's just a general broad view of how it is structured. Yeah.
Okay.
So I will go into more detail. Yeah.
Gotcha. And Grace is here. We're going to talk to Grace. Just the last question I'm just getting. Is it possible to do green bonds that are also, should we say, profitable, or are all green bonds going to be under this impact, profit for good framework?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's possible to combine both profit making but also environment, being environmental conscious. It's not compulsory that, because the fact is investors will need their return. No one is going to invest. They're not charitable organizations. So no one is just going to give money. They can do that under their CSR schemes, but no one is going to give money, invest into a project and not expect anything in return. I think there's a way where it can be structured, and which we have seen, where you're able to still get, your reasonable returns, but then you're also contributing. So by investing in a solar panel project, or doing a mini grid in some remote village in Kaduna, you're still going to charge the end users for the product, but at the same time you're creating jobs. So that's one thing. You're increasing their earning capacity, and you're also making the environment and also the community better for it. So I think it's very possible to do both. Yeah.
Perfect. And let's get Grace in here. Grace, hi, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening.
All right, Grace. Just a quick intro, and I wanted to ask you about the conference coming up, the CAF. Did I get it right? Is that how you say the CAF?
Yes, CAF 24.
There we go. Go ahead and introduce yourself and just talk to us about CAF 24. Let's see how that ties into what Susan just told us about. Go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you to you, Mr. Carlo, and to Chizotam for sharing this great insights. So the Climate Action Africa Forum 24, that's for short CAF 24, it's a convening by Climate Action Africa, which is the organization in itself. And our goal really through this conference is two things. How do we amplify innovations and inspire new innovations in the green and clean and sustainable space? And how do we increase investments in those innovations? I like what Chizotam was saying towards the end, because there she was making a clear case of green has to have a market approach as opposed to an aid approach. And our goal as an organization is to make that business case for the fact that investing in green is actually a way for us to elevate and develop ourselves as a continent. Because in the intro, I heard you, Mr. Kadu, sharing those great insights about how we've become this oil-dependent nation and all the different charters and treaties and market trends that has led us to this place. But then we find ourselves, and Chizotam mentioned that earlier, we find ourselves in a dilemma of some sort where we are faced with all these developmental challenges, and at the same time, we cannot afford to develop ourselves rapidly as the rest of the world, depending on that same carbon economy that the rest of the world has used, because we are at the tipping point. So how do we then develop ourselves as Africans, given that we're not as industrialized and we do not have the infrastructure like the rest of the world? The only way is for us to bet on green and go into green, which means we need to restructure our capital markets. We need to rethink our investment strategies. We need to just think of the sustainable and the greener way. So that's what we're doing at the conference on the 19th of June. We're having conversations around policy, around finance, around even showcasing some of the innovations that we think and we believe can turn the tide in our favor. So it's just those two things. How do we increase those innovations and how do we invest in those innovations? Because it is a business, it's not aid. And the market has shown us that. Thank you.
Gotcha. Just to follow up on you. So let's get something specific. We have the Nigerian government doing this compressed natural gas with the buses. Is that the direction? If we do that, do we get a pass? Are we doing the right thing to say we're going to power buses not with diesel, but with gas? Does that tick that box in the green quote unquote ecosystem?
So CNG is not 100% clean, but it is cleaner than the traditional gas that we are used to, just because of its process. And because Nigeria has an abundance of that fuel, it is actually our best bet as a transitionary fuel. So I don't think it's going to be here for the long run, like in decades and decades to come. But it is a good transitionary fuel that can be a stopgap because it is cleaner. The emissions are less, and it just works for the economy. And we could actually see CNG play a key role in supporting infrastructure for electric and other cleaner energy sources, as opposed to being the energy in itself. So it could support the infrastructure. So because it's very versatile and it's very clean, we know that there is a pathway there for us to transition to clean energy altogether.
Gotcha. So more transitionary. So I hear you say electricity. That's the nirvana. That's the ultimate. The solar powered buses. Is that the ultimate with the batteries and all that?
Yes. We should aim to get there.
Okay.
EVs are cleaner than CNGs, of course. So electrics are cleaner than CNGs, and it goes on and on. So CNG is just that stopgap and transitionary fuel, and it's better for the environment as compared to what we're used to.
Excellent. Chizotam, back to you, right? You spoke about Kenya, how the Kenyan Green Bond was out, and also there are a few countries that have also done this measure of their capital markets with the green economy. What does Nigeria have to do, right, to go from where we are right now? Our capital market, stock market is doing very, very well this year. I think twice in the last 10 years, the Nigerian stock market has been the best performer in the entire world, and it's based really from maybe one or two stocks in the industrial subsector. What specifics does Nigeria have to do to go from where we are right now? I just lost Chizotam. Let me check at her back. I was going to ask her what specific steps we had to do to go from where we are to where in a position where we can then have entrepreneurs coming in to then launch products. So, Children, and if you had the full question, and if you can take it, do you want me to take it again?
Yes, please. I did.
Okay, so I was asking.
I didn't quite get that. So thank you.
Yes, Kenya has. We mentioned the Kenyan example of how they use their capital market to raise long-term funding for green projects. We'll come back to Nigeria, and we're saying, what does Nigerian markets have to do specifically to go from where they are right now to where they could be in a position where they're supposed to, where they can raise long-term capital for SMEs and Nigerian companies that are interested in maybe going into this green space? What needs to happen in the Nigerian capital market?
Okay, so I'll start by saying Nigeria actually has started taking steps to achieve this. So I don't want to ignore that. I want to applaud us for even considering that those sort of projects. But I would say that to be able to achieve the sort of milestones that Kenya has achieved, there are a number of factors that we need to consider and things that we need to put in place. So I think I'll start with talking about the market infrastructure. So we need to be able to have have reliable and just solid market infrastructure. So when I'm talking about the trading platforms, the clearing and settlement system, so your SCS. Because if we don't have our systems in place, then we're not going to be able to effectively operate. So we all hear about NIBS and how any downtime with NIBS can affect significantly all our payments providers. So your Flutterwaves and PayStack are going, into having downtime if NIBS should, if there's any issue. So if likewise with our capital markets, if you don't have our infrastructure steady and in place, then we will see that even with transactions, we are trying to close trades, there will be issues and it won't be able to flow smoothly. And that can also impact investor confidence because you don't want to be able to be trying to effect a trade and then you're being told that if there's a delay because of the system is down and then you're losing out on the particular price at that date. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I think the second thing, which I think is so fundamental, is having a roadmap and just having guidelines. So if we don't have clearly stated and articulated a map for what we're trying to achieve and the goals and how we plan on achieving those goals, then it will be difficult to track our progress. And having a roadmap will keep us accountable, and you'll be able to clearly have performance reviews to check how far are we complying, are we progressing or are we sliding back from our objectives. And I'm aware that Kenya and Morocco, certain countries do have roadmaps in place. And oftentimes what they do is that they link it to their nationally determined contribution. So what are we trying to achieve? Are we trying to achieve, say, converting to fossil fuels by 2030, or what is our goal? And not just having the roadmap in place, just keeping it under lock and key, but then actually having systems of reviewing periodically to ensure that we are making progress in that aspect. I think that is very key, and it's something that I'm aware that Kenya has put in place. And I think linked to that is just having green guidelines. So it's not enough to just start every product and say this is I'm doing a green, sustainable led or linked project. But what are the indicators for determining who is determining those projects are actually green? And then when you put in your offer documents that you are raising money for this and this project, who is then checking to ensure that your use of proceeds are being applied in that way? And so I think just having those transparency and accountability markers are very important, even when developing guidelines. So establishing, what is the standard and who will be the regulator who will be in charge of overseeing the guideline implementation. I think linked to that as well would be developing our internal capacity. Oftentimes I've seen in just even conventional bond deals, if as much as you're changing a full stop in your agreement, SEC is going to hold your documents and be asking you questions. And oftentimes you see that if you're trying to create an innovative or do some very interesting structuring, your offer documents will be at SEC for quite a while and chasing up going to Abuja to have meetings. So if we don't have that internal capacity at SEC, as our regulators themselves, then they will continue to be roadblocks. To the time to market will be so protracted that it will discourage investors, because you want them to tell PFAs that, look, you put your money in today, these are the returns, these are the timelines. And you're not guaranteeing the return, but you're guaranteeing that on this and this date, this is when we'll go to market. This is how quickly you start to make returns on your investments. So that is very key. And it has to be a lot of collaboration across board. So from your financial advisors, to your, like I said, your regulators, and even your investor base. So PFAs they're very key. They're a very core source of investment and liquidity in markets. So there has to be a collaboration where the PFAs are interested in actually investing in these sort of projects. SEC is willing to consider and quickly understand what needs to be done and approve and allow the company to go to market. The issuer as well has to be willing to comply with all the guidelines we talked about and has to be willing to do things by the book, because nobody wants to have greenwashing allegations where someone is saying that you said you're raising money for X project. On one hand, you are doing solar panels or a mini grid, and on the other hand, you are then burning, emitting carbon. you're doing other projects that are contributing to your other, sustainable link projects as well. So there has to be that alignment with the issuer, and then that collaboration across the board.
Yeah.
I think yes, please.
Well, sorry about that. I don't know if you
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, something I was going to mention was there has to be a lot of liquidity for us to be able to make significant milestones in green investments and sustainable linked investments. It has to be access to liquidity. So what we have seen in often cases is where it's like there's a regional cross-border, regional integration of stock exchanges. So I'm aware that the NGX has entered a memorandum of understanding with the Luxembourg Stock Exchange. What that means is that you now have a wider pool of investors who are willing to tap in or bring in their funds into your project, and this can be very helpful because sometimes you just need an international body to identify with the movements for the local bodies to on board. As sad as that may sound, but that's often the case. But what that also does is forces transparency in the process. So I just stop here.
Gotcha. Great insight into. I mean, that was you took us around, and I think I did pick up one or two from there. But I want to ask you, I'm just on the spot, right? With this, with the whole green economy, it's possible to raise IGR, intangible revenues, from simply having a piece of land that I fence off and I can sell carbon credits. Do you think this is something that states in Nigeria could do and can raise revenues than just maybe in Calabar or Akwa Ibom or states that have got large forest reserves, simply passing out that land and selling carbon credits on the stock exchange? Is it something that is feasible in Nigeria? I know it's possible over in the States. Farmers are able to parcel out land and they can use a GPS to do the coordinates and they get paid. They don't develop the land because the land adds to the greening and all that kind of stuff. Is this a thing that can happen in Nigeria as well? Is it part of this whole process as well?
So I think that's very, very possible. I think at the core of that will just ensure that there's a lot of education around what is sought to be achieved. I think anything really, the way the capital markets are, there's a lot of innovation that goes on. And so things can be structured, even if we don't see them in other markets, we can always make a case for things here as long as everyone is educated as to what we're trying to achieve, what is the benefit, how those carbon credits work, and as long as there's understanding and there's that collaboration, I don't think anything is impossible.
Yeah.
As long as it's not illegal, to be honest, things can be structured. You can always make a case, even with your regulators, for what you're trying to achieve. You can convince your investors that you have a case. You've done your financial projections, and you can make a clear case for the benefits of it.
Instead of cutting down the trees, you do
instead of cutting down, exactly.
You do a rainforest,
no need for that.
Yeah, you do a rainforest preserve, and you sell the carbon credits abroad, and you get paid in dollars, foreign exchange, and the money comes to the state. So I'm just wondering if that's going to be IGR, because it's the trees, and in Nigeria is what's below the ground, the cash crops. But just a forest itself that is simply on the ground is owned by the local government or owned by the state. The money comes to them directly, right? Or they could actually package a bond and say, hey, if you invest in this bond, then you own a piece of the land, and that land is then sold to the foreign folks that then use it to package a carbon credit. So I get a dividend in dollars. So I'm just wondering if that was a possible thing and something we could package, and that would preserve the forests in Nigeria, bring in IGR, and then tie people in to taking care of the environment. Everybody wins.
Yes, so I'm aware that, to my understanding of land law, is that the land and everything above it, forms part of the land. And currently, under the Land Use Act, all the land in the state belongs to the governor of the state, which is why you have to get governor's consent for, your project. So it's unfortunately right now we don't have any regulations for those sort of structures, but it's not impossible. If the House of Assembly of a particular state could come up with laws to govern that sort of matter, and it can be worked on. But currently, it's a bit complicated because there's no law in place right now, so I can't speak authoritatively on it. But what I do know is that it's I don't think it will be impossible. A case can be made for it.
Gotcha. Grace, hop in real quick. I mean, Grace, what's your take on this? Is this a new way we can finance public infrastructure and bring in more people to get more interested in the environment? If I know that the acreage behind my village can give me dollars, can give my grandmom, half your dollars, am I not interested in looking after that, and possibly we can then package some little micro bond that can be sold in Nigerian Stock Exchange or Nigerian Stock Exchange to raise capital. What's your take on that? And then another thing you want to speak about. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Carlo, and thank you, Chizotam, for your take on this. So Nigeria currently, we have a few people that are participating in the voluntary carbon market, which means, just going to pick a speaker here, which means Victor could have a project in solar and he wants to make money off it in the carbon market and has somebody in Switzerland pay for those carbon credits because they want to offset their own carbon. As of this year, the UNDP and a few other partners started supporting the Nigerian the National Council on Climate Change, the NCCC, in creating the legislation that Chizotam was talking about. Not really legislation, but just some kind of regulation. They're now creating the Nigerian carbon market framework. So hear me, my phone just nodded me that my internet is off or something.
Oh, I can hear you. You are talking. You said we've created a Nigerian carbon market. That's what you were saying. Yeah, I heard you. Can you hear me, Grace? I think we lost Grace. Oh, Grace, and you were right in there. I'll try to hear what you were saying about that. Okay, so let me just quickly get
Hello,
yeah,
can I be heard?
Grace, I can hear you pretty clear. Go ahead. Okay, let me do this real quick. I've got Oxley. Oxley has a question. Let me take a question real quick, and I'll come back. Grace, if you can fix the mic, really want to hear your take that you were going to be on. Oxley Tech, please go ahead. I've got you some time. I've got Grace. Grace might have a few issues with her speaker. I hope you can hear me and come right back. But Oxley, you've got the floor. Go ahead.
Yes, mine is a question. My question would be, do you think that policy-wise, in terms of government policy, that is there a policy that we have currently, whether there is a law or regulation at the federal level or state level that is going to be driving investment into this green and sustainability sector, given that Nigeria is a heavy consumer of fossil fuel? In fact, fossil fuel is the mainstay of our economy and FX earnings. So, do you think that the body language of the Nigerian government as to speak, and even in the next 10 to 20 years, do you think that there is anything that will make this government to, put policies in place on regulations or pass laws that will encourage, investment into this space? Because as far as I know, I don't think there has been any law in the National Assembly or any act that has been erected or that has been passed, to encourage investment or to preserve, to provide some kind of regulatory framework around, people, choosing to, enact what's it called, green energy or, cleaner energy and all of that. So I just want maybe the speakers to talk around, the current as it is today. I understand we can talk about what we expect, but how is it today in the country, in Nigeria, in terms of laws and regulations? Thank you.
So you're on the laws, the regulations around this whole carbon, green, and all that. Chisom, do you have any intake on that? I just added Grace back. Chisom or Grace, he's talking about the laws really currently. Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I'm aware that starting with, there is actually a roadmap done for the renewable energy roadmap in Nigeria. It's more policy based, so it sets out, taking into consideration our current realities of the country and challenges we're facing. It sets out long-term perspective. I believe for 2050 and what we hope to achieve. Now, in terms of regulations for investments. There actually is. So the Securities and Exchange Commission actually has rules on green bonds. This was issued sometime in 2018, and it basically highlighted, what would qualify as a green bond. So renewable energy projects, waste management that are sustainable in nature, clean transports, and the like. And it then sets out, apart from the usual rules for approving debt issuances, what other conditions will need to be satisfied by the issuer that wants to issue green bonds. Talking about how the bonds need to be utilized and managed, the reporting requirements, that will be expected of the issuer for that bond, the green bond issuance, and just other factors at play. But then also, late last year in 2023, November, there was exposure rules released by SEC actually, and it broadened the scope. So it went beyond green bonds, but also talks about social bonds, sustainability bonds, sustainability-linked bonds, and transition bonds. And this then talks about what will qualify, what projects will qualify under each of these heads. So energy hasn't yet been passed into, to officially into one of their regulations, but it just goes to show that tech and the NGX and other entities in the regulatory space are thinking ahead, and they are making plans to accommodate this. Thank you.
Great, thanks. That was good, well detailed out. Grace, good to have you back. Before you left, you were speaking about, I wanted to get back to where you were. I was really enjoying that. Grace, can you hear me now? Are you back?
Yes, I'm back.
Great.
The network.
No worries, yeah.
Okay, good. So, what I was saying earlier was about the carbon market in general in Nigeria. So there's a voluntary market, which means anybody can participate in that market. You just need your project to get verified if it meets the criteria for it to be traded in the voluntary market. And then there's a price that has been set, and you can find a buyer in, let's say, Switzerland in this case, or any other economy. Right now, a lot of the carbon markets that we have in Africa, especially which is very active in the east, so Kenya and Tanzania and a bit of Gabon in Central Africa and these other countries, it's mostly voluntary players who are taking advantage of that market. Nigeria, Ghana as well has a good market. Nigeria now, some people have taken advantage of it, but Nigeria now, through the NCCC, they're trying to create the carbon market framework, which would even now make a case for what we were trying to say earlier in terms of IGR, which is how can we leverage the carbon market for some kind of, internal, for some type of revenue for the state. So that is an option. Now we move forward to, in terms of if you already have an existing piece of land or if you have forest. So in the carbon market, there's the concept of additionality, which means that, for example, Ogun State, which has a huge and beautiful forest reserve and most parts of the east, those forests may not be able to benefit from the carbon market because they already exist and therefore are not adding to the reduction of carbon from the atmosphere. But if you now create a new project, you can use that project to trade in the market. But even as part of this infrastructure and us as Nigerians preparing to take advantage of all these green markets that are existing and carbon markets, we have verifiers that are able to come and look at the project and say, okay, this project is worth it, and they can look at all the paperwork because it can be quite tedious. We don't have any of those verifiers in Nigeria at the moment. Nobody is certified to do that, at least not to the best of my knowledge, and according to the NCCC, we don't have any. So that's like an avenue. And what can happen, there's an alternative to what can happen, but I don't think Nigeria would qualify in this case. Is because, so what will happen, it could be like the case of, okay, I think my network is...
I can still hear you, Grace. If you can hear me, I can still hear you.
Okay, I can hear you perfect. What could happen could be like the case of Gabon, because Gabon has huge forest reserves that were untouched. The World Bank and a few other partners actually did a deal of like $50 million to say, do not cut down this forest so that you don't, add to the problem, so that we can still use this as a forest, as a carbon sink. So you have certain communities and certain countries that get into those type of arrangements. So in this case now, maybe Ogun State could enter into that type of arrangement because of their forest reserve, or parts of the east, like in Imo and all those other places that have huge greenery. I think that there is concessions to be made around that. But for us to benefit from that carbon market, there has to be additionality, which means there has to be new projects. And it has to be verified, and there are all these steps that goes into it. But there's huge potential there for Africa to be able to make money from it and to also develop itself through revenue that comes from that market. Thank you.
Gotcha. And Grace, since I have you here, Grace, real quick, right? What about this conference here? Can you talk more about it? What do you guys want to achieve? How can a guy listening in today, guy or girl listening today, be able to participate? What's the takeaway? Why are we doing it?
Okay, thank you. So the conference, we have three main agendas that are going around on the conference. One is policy. There's one stage that is focused on policy and finance. So we're going to be having these conversations in terms of how do we de-risk the market, or even de-risk the innovation so that they are more attractive to investors. We're going to be having conversations around how we even plan our cities, because currently Lagos is 24 million people. I mean, we're still debating what the numbers are. Nigeria is going to be 400 million people by 2050, by what the stats and projectors are saying. How do we plan our cities in a green future if today you can hear the generators in the background? How are we planning urban resilience for the future that is green and sustainable as Africans? There are conversations around the innovators. We have young, bright minds. There's a deal room where we are just showcasing amazing innovations from across the country, from across the continent. We want people to be able to come and see, listen to these innovations, and be able to support it in one way or the other. Access to market, access to finance, exposure for them. That's what we want to see make happen. And then there's a lot of things that will be happening around the energy conversation. CNG as a transitional source of power is going to be taking up a lot of the space to have that conversation in terms of how do we use it well in this transitionary phase. How do we take advantage of it, and how do we even move to it as a semi-cleaner option before we move forward? And of course, there's my favorite room, which is the Founders Forum, where we have conversations around the circular economy, things that are already present today, and and people are making a lot of money from it. How do we take advantage of those spaces? So I'm encouraging everyone to register if you haven't registered. The Twitter is CAF_events. You can go to it, and our handle as well is Climate Action Africa. You can go to it and follow just to get updates on the event. But the conversations revolve again around the policy to enable investment and how do we even promote innovations. The current administration has done a green zone. We're seeing how that will play out. But there's so much potential here for us to develop ourselves the right way, and we want to have the right type of conversations to inspire the right type of actions. So thank you.
Very, very interesting. And guys, again, remember, guys, if you have your DMs, you want to speak, just request. I can add you before the two lovely contestants or lovely two commentators leave. I'm getting so much from this. Didn't know we had a green zone. I want to talk to you about that. Great. Green zone, does that mean like an opportunity zone? What does that actually mean? If I put money there, I get a tax break. What does that mean? If you could just real quick.
To be honest, I've not read the fine print of this, but I do know that it was launched a few weeks ago, and a few names were called as people were going to be on the steering committee or some kind of leadership. We had the big guys in sustainability, even certain people from the NCCC were there. I think it's some kind of green industrial zone, but I don't want to speak to it because I do not have all the details. But you can Google, anybody here can Google it. And also just to say, I know Nigeria has also played around with a green bond. I don't know how successful it was, but it was a project that started, I think, 2018 to 2023. There was some, trainings and whatever that happened. But I know Nigeria has started building that framework or even testing the idea of a green bond and green market frameworks as well.
I think we did 2 green bonds, Chizotam, if I'm correct. I think we did 2 green bonds, correct?
Yes.
I'm also aware that Lagos State last year launched a program, and one of the focuses was sustainable bonds and sukuk.
Yeah, Grace, I can hear you. Chizotam was just answering a question as regards we've had two green bonds in the past, and she was saying Lagos had actually passed or trying to do a bond. So Chizotam was speaking. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, Chizotam, please continue.
Okay, I was saying that last year Lagos actually registered, I think it was 1 trillion. It was a debt and hybrid instruments program. Interestingly, the company I work with, Chapel Hill Denham, with the financial advisors who worked with the government to register that debt program. And one of the focus or the products on the debt instruments under conventional and sustainable bonds as well as sukuk. And if I recall, the proceeds are to finance social and physical infrastructure projects within the state. So yes, we're definitely there are a couple of green bonds in the market now.
A question for me is it cheaper to do a green bond, or is it the same cost? If I was going to do a green bond, do I pay less to SEC, to all the other parties? Is there any special thing there, or it's going to be the exact same thing?
So I'm actually not very sure if what the cost implication would be. I wouldn't think so. If there was a set rule for because it's still a debt instrument, my guess is that it would still be the same to market. But I believe, and it's something I was actually going to also suggest, that there should actually be certain incentives for corporates or subnationals that are doing green bonds because of the overall benefits to the environment and to the community. I would push for certain tax incentives. Whether they are right now, I can't speak to that.
Gotcha. And guys, we've spent nearly an hour. Time to round up. Just want to ask both of Grace and Chizotam, do you think this can be a veritable path to foreign direct investments and job creation? I mean, what are these practical, specific examples or pathways you can do to convert this whole green and sustainable talk to FDIs and job creation? Let's say someone's listening here today and he knows someone that is a governor or in charge of office. How does this allow him to create FDIs or create jobs in a state, local government, or even the federal government? Yeah. Just we can start with you.
Okay, I'll start with job creation. So definitely there can be these sort of projects who can create jobs. So if you're funding, again, a student accommodation project in some or you're doing a mini grid, and I know I've used mini grid project, but I've seen what the impact can be. So imagine doing a mini grid in some rural village in Imo State, where I'm from, right? You are going to be able to employ people. If you're doing a student accommodation, whatever, any project you're doing, you're going to need local hands to be able to develop the things to maintain them. So that definitely creates avenues for job creation. As for FDIs, what I would say is if your investor base is not limited to Nigeria, it is extended to regional investors and also international investors, it can definitely, as long as you're able to demonstrate transparency during the process, because no one wants to invest something that they're not aware of, they're not very clear on where their money is going to, and if they're getting any return. So as long as you can ensure transparency and put that in place, as long as there's clear indicators as to who the project is for. So many people don't want to get involved in a green scandal. So they want to know that if I'm investing in a green project, then for sure this is what it is. There's not going to be any change tomorrow along the line. So I believe if you have certain things like that, and also again, there's a long way that capacity building and just investor education plays. So once you put all those factors and all those things in place, I think it's possible for you to attract FDI.
Gotcha. What about you, Grace? What do you think? The sustainability, green, can it really attract FDIs and jobs locally to Nigeria? Is it a veritable path, something we should pursue? Grace, I'm not sure if you can hear. Did you hear my question? Are you still here? I see you here. All all right. Maybe Grace is having issues with her mic. So, Chizotam, I mean, just in closing, real quick, right? We've talked about, I mean, you've given us an overview of the capital markets currently, the laws in the capital markets currently to encourage green and sustainable investment. You've given us the need that we have to transit to this sector. Also, you've also told us it's possible, not just is it possible, we're actually doing it at the moment. Lagos State, the federal government has passed green bonds, and you guys actually advised the state government to bring green bonds in. So it's actually happening at the moment. Just to bring it now down to the individual investor, right? If I want to invest in a green bond, maybe I go online, I want to buy a carbon credit. I'm not sure if it's something you can advise on, but are there things I should be looking at? What is for instance, am I looking at the dividends? Am I looking at the return on equity? Is it just a moral play? What should I look for if I see a green investment? I'm able to say, this one is good, this one is not good. If you could just maybe talk about that would really help. Chizotam? Okay, I've got Madrebu.
I seem to be having network problems. I can't.
Gotcha. I have a question though. I have a gentleman here wants to ask a question.
Can you please repeat the question? I didn't
Yes.
quite catch that.
So my question was like, as a retail investor, if I was a retail investor and I saw a green bond or a green investment, what am I looking out for to help me deduce or to evaluate if this is something good I can put my money into? What things am I looking for? Do they have a price earnings ratio? Do they have a return on equity? What do green bonds? What do you look at when you look at a green investment as a retail guy to say, yes, I like this, or this not worth my while? Just want to get your insight on that. So I'm not sure if you heard me, but I'm not sure. Maduago Nzebuchi, you have a question, sir? I'm sorry we're having audio issues, but let me ask a question. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, is Maduago Nzebuchi. Thank you. My question is, and I'm asking from a startup point of view. So I'm a student at FUTO. So okay. I want to ask if you want to build a startup and you're looking for funding for your project. Let me see.
I can't seem to hear anything at all. My apologies for that.
So you want to log out and come back in again. That would work.
Can I continue?
Yes, you can, sir.
Okay, so if you want to build a startup, let me say for a school shuttle bus that runs on biogas, for example. That's the idea. So how do you access funding for a project like that, for a green project like that?
So are you asking like from the capital market? Are you saying just where can you get funds from if you want to do something in line with green?
Yes, exactly. Whether from anywhere at all, especially let me say maybe from international bodies that offer something like carbon credits. Is it possible for students just the same way that you have students building things in other countries around the world?
Okay.
And get funding for it. So how possible is it for students in Nigeria here that want to?
I get your question.
To do it?
I get your question. Clearly, it's not going to be a commercial offer, clearly. So it's not going to go through, say, a formal capital market. But Chizotam might know, but I know for a fact that because you're a student, it might not be a commercial offer. There might be windows for that. Chizotam, do you have anything for him? He's asking, he's a student, he wants to maybe do a green project. Is there any window he can go to get this done?
So, first of all, I want to applaud even having that sort of initiative. So I think what I would say you can do at your student level now is to find organizations like the Climate Action Africa, and you could volunteer your services towards, research. You could also help develop policy documents, work with organizations that are developing policies that would improve this area. And if you're able to structure a very innovative, and very interesting product, you could pitch it to any company you think would be keen on considering it. I guess the key thing is just at any level you are, just to demonstrate your value add. I think that's what my advice for you as a student right now.
Yeah. So just
sorry. Okay.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask one more thing. So aside organizations like Climate Action Africa, because I stay in Owerri and I school in Owerri, and it's usually far. It's usually far for you to even go there and volunteer service or something. Are there agencies out there that maybe are close by or that might even respond to emails and things like that that I can apply to aside Climate Action Africa? Thank you.
So I think unfortunately I don't have readily that information, but I believe that maybe Grace can help to recommend any similar organizations. But I think it's something that you'll be able to find probably from doing research. Unfortunately, I don't have suggestions off the top of my head to give you. And Carla, apologies, if you don't mind repeating the question you had asked me earlier.
Yes, I was
having trouble with my connection, so I
Gotcha. I was asking, right, if I'm an investor and I go online and I see a sustainable or a green investment, what am I looking out for? Am I looking at is that price earnings? It is return on equity. What should I look for as an investor to say this particular green offering is worth my while to put money in? Can you give us any insight around that?
So what I say is, if you're an investor who is genuinely keen on this sort of project, then while you would be looking for value in terms of profit and your returns, I don't think that would be your primary concern. I think you'd be looking out more for what the impact would be to the society. So what will be the developmental outcome or outcome of that kind of project? So I don't think. So let me put it this way: in equal measures, you'll be looking for impact as well as your profits or your returns. I don't think one would supersede. Your first thought wouldn't be, just profit, because if, again, like I said, if you're really keen on this sort of project, if you're an impact investor, then your key thing would be looking for the impacts and then ensuring that, of course, your investors are well protected and are well, their returns are guaranteed.
Gotcha. So essentially, I'm looking at the issuer or where they're going to, like, is the issuer more important than what he wants to do? Like, if he wants to do more of, like, say, solar, does that give it extra points, or if it's just maybe from BlackRock? Just what do you think?
So we go to look at the track record your issuer has. If it's an issuer, or that's a company or a government that has demonstrated keen interest in contributing its quota to renewable energy space, climate space, sustainable based projects, then that would always be a good indicator. Which is why oftentimes if you are a new issuer in the market, so it's your first time in the market, you're trying to do a green bond, you would find that a lot of investors would be a bit wary. But what you could do, which I believe Kenya did, would be to get a guarantor who would then de-risk the project.
Gotcha.
So say for instance your infra credits, who is then coming to they have skin in the game, so they're coming to stand and guarantee your project. That would definitely make it more attractive to investors. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm not able to. Again, just to really come back to you, really try to go online and search for stuff. There's really nothing you can find online. If you're not going to come to the bond market or capital market to get funding, but there are lots of clubs or foundation or institutions that do even give you not just financing. Don't look at just being amongst that crowd, knowing those players there, showing yourself and showing that you are participating gives you access going down the line to funds. So I would say try to look more as contacts for now, right? Financing is hard for it because you don't have any legal framework, you don't have the means, should we say the regulatory means to attract capital to yourself. But be there, get known, know the folks that are there, and learn the ropes, and then down the line you never know what's going to happen. So don't lose hope that you can raise financing so far. Let me also get a question from, I think it's from Adebot. Mr. Adebote? Did I say that right? I apologize. I think it's right.
Yeah, that's right. But you could use my first name, which is Shay.
Shay, how you doing?
Oh, Shay for me.
Right, Shay, you've got the floor, sir.
Yeah, many thanks. Maybe I could just add a little bit about to Matt Dukwa's question. I think And I could use an example of myself. I think many times we have ideas and we think this idea is really valid and we want it to get all the funding in the world because of how much we believe in it. So I would say one thing that has worked for me is, as incredible as your idea is, you take your time to build and develop it. And even if you don't get to that breakthrough as early as you think you should, find out you can incorporate it with existing organizations that have some track records, that have, legal framework, like you just said, Kalu, and see how you can use them as an umbrella body to kickstart, to get the leverage you need. And over time, you could then decide if you want this project to be like owned by the organization and you contribute to it, or if you can sort of build up to the point that it can become an independent project. And I say this with because this has worked on a few projects that I've worked on. I will use one. I've done a bit in the solar sector and a bit in the waste sector, but I'll use this one in the waste sector as an example. In 2018 or so, when we started out, we had this group called Pick Our Trash, and we're just going out to sensitize people about cleanliness and picking up stuff. And that was quite successful in its sense as an advocacy group. But some of us thought, beyond being an advocacy group, we need to make some money out of this. And today we have 3 registered organizations. I sit on the board of 2, and they're like very well invested organizations, if I should put it that way. From bootstrapping at the beginning and sourcing funds from colleagues, we went up to like having some very small startup investors, and now we have projects and organizational frameworks that are well funded continuously, from like the UN to multinationals, because we built this track record over time. So I would say this is one thing you should keep in mind. Now to my question. It's around this carbon trading and carbon market. As much as I'm in the field, I just would like to get a bit of thoughts and opinion from other people. I don't know if it's been spoken to earlier, but maybe it would be good to get some thoughts. Carbon credits, carbon markets, carbon trading, carbon finance, if you had to break it down, I don't know if it's something within your field, but I know it's all it's like a growing conversation in the capital market when it comes to green and sustainable investment. So I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Thanks.
I'm not sure who you were asking specifically, but the way I understand it is essentially what they've done is to say, just like how you have cap and trade, they take a process and they attach, for lack of a better word, you attach carbon to it. You say this process generates greenhouse gases, and this process or this asset generates, say, oxygen. And if you are an airline, you clearly are burning fossil fuels. So when you burn fossil fuels, you are leaving a carbon footprint. Hence, you have a negative carbon footprint. The way you bring yourself positive is to go to a market and buy carbon credits to offset the carbon that you have created. So if we bring it home, NNPC, for instance, is burning excess gas from its oil field. So that burning of the excess gas is creating, is pouring carbon into the atmosphere. So that's negative for the planet. So the way NNPC could make itself carbon neutral is to go to Calabar, Akwa Ibom, Bauchi, all those states that have got lots of rainforest, and buy forests and fence them. You could go to Yankari Game Reserve and sponsor Yankari by paying for wardens, for cars, for investing in Yankari. When it does that, it's able to buy carbon credits from those fields to offset the gas that it's spewing into the atmosphere. That means that Yankari or Budu Cattle Ranch have got to then price how much oxygen that they are spewing into the atmosphere. They have to price it, take it to a market, and sell it. So Chizotam is talking about a capital market where there are sellers of carbon credits, which is going to be the guys that own forests, the guys that maybe have carbon capture equipment. All those guys are selling carbon, so we say oxygen, right? And then the guys like NNPC, your Nigerian Railway Corporation that are burning carbon are buying that oxygen in that market to do an offset. So essentially, you then have a market where you have guys selling oxygen, and the guys that are burning carbon are buying that oxygen to stay carbon neutral. Then, of course, when you have that market, you're not talking of carbon futures, carbon swaps, carbon credits, and all that. And then you then have a whole market created around capping and trading, where for us to control pollution, we will say, okay, the total allowable carbon a country or a company can spew out can be, say, 10,000 mega, whatever. And that company then has to go buy more. So it's a way for you to control the environment using the market. You can simply tell all the companies in Nigeria you cannot spew on a certain amount of carbon. So that way it restricts pollution because they have to go buy it. If they can't buy carbon or buy oxygen, then they can't spew carbon. That's the whole. I'm not using technical words, it's just how I understand it as an investor. You create a market, you cap and you trade. So you cap emissions, and to do more emissions, you trade those emissions, and you do that on an exchange, which is now the capital market. And by doing that, you are creating a market around the trading of carbon. Nigeria should have done this perhaps a long time ago because we are spewing out carbon and we also have green forests. We could have merged these two together and maybe create a carbon market in Lagos, which then becomes the center, even in Africa. So the Kenyans would have come here to sell their carbon. So you will find countries that have nothing but just have forests, maybe Liberia, Guinea, Gabon. All those countries can come to Nigeria and sell carbon because the NNPC would buy. And in the excess carbon, we can even have the foreigners come to the Nigerian carbon market to then buy as well. So that's where you are going to with this, cap and trade and all that. Yeah. And if Chizotam wants to add to that, we're almost at the end. We're just going to have Osley make a final comment, and then we'll have Chizotam and Grace give us our closing remarks, and then we'll take it from there. They'll be here for an hour. I don't want to keep them too long. Oxley, you've got a final question for the ladies leave?
Yes, so the question I have is two questions. Quick one, which is number one, do we have any development finance organization talking of African Development Bank that has strategically positioned some funds for Nigerian market, maybe in terms of single digit interest rates, where anyone that has a green project can go maybe approach a Nigerian bank, take such facility at a single digit interest rate and be able to execute the projects anywhere in Nigeria. Is such funds available? If there is, please write it off. Number two, if someone is a bond issuer and he goes to the capital markets to get a green bond, for example, is there any regulatory framework in place to monitor once that bond has been raised, to monitor how those monies are invested, to track, to make sure that whatever you are raising the bonds for or the funds for is actually goes into those projects rather than being diverted into other areas. Is such framework or regulatory framework in place in our capital market or elsewhere?
Yeah, let me get you the time to answer. I like that second question. I think normal bonds have a trustee arrangement where the trustee is making sure that the proceeds of the bond are used as indicated in the prospectus. She just dropped out. All right, Grace, are you still with us? Grace, are you still with us? So let me just say, if I can answer. Usually, Oxley, right, when you issue a bond, you normally would have trustees that essentially what they are trying to do is to make sure that what you write in your prospectus, which is like your constitution, what you want to do with the proceeds of the bond, that you actually do it. So if you say you want to use your bond to build a new industrial plant, for instance, they make sure that's what you've actually done and all that. Custodians, trustees, those kind of people are in normally in all those bonds, convention, and prospectus. They make sure that you take the money out, you do exactly as you have said. I know Chizotam, when she started off, she made mention of these folks that this is one of the things that the Nigerian market has to have to endanger confidence, right? So that if we have that in the economy, then investors know that it's not greenwashing. They're not just borrowing money to do something else, but calling it green just to get the money. I think she said at the very, very beginning of her presentation, when she talked about what the Nigerian capital markets, what they have to do to sort of be like Kenya and the other markets that have advanced in this green and sustainable market. So she mentioned it, but she's not here to give me the exact wording. But I think the answer is yes, but the exact wordings I'm not sure of. This is recorded, so if you do the podcast later on, the Twitter recording, you would hear her mention that. Yeah. Let me try to see if I can add her so she can just come in and give you that exact. Chizotam, can you speak now? Chizotam, I'm not sure. Can you speak now? He was asking a question as regards how we can make sure that when green bonds are issued, that someone is tracking to make sure that what they say they're going to do with those bonds are actually what they do with the proceeds of the bonds.
Sorry, he wants to understand how to track the use of proceeds for green bonds.
He wants to make sure that there's a procedure that if green bonds are issued, that the intent of the bonds actually used. That he's just asking for that process mechanism around there. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. So one thing I've seen under the SEC rules is that there are reporting requirements, which is fairly common for any issuance that is being done. But I guess specifically in this sort of for this sort of projects, there would be higher requirements. So there would need to be an assessment done. So apart from just reporting, you'd have to report on your use of proceeds and what the progress being made in terms of, so you said you want to achieve certain outcomes. So periodically you need to revert to second and let them know how you're progressing with those objectives. So yes, there is definitely a system of overseeing and ensuring that things are going according. So things as SEC has approved your use of proceeds, that you're actually maintaining or going on that path without any deviation.
Excellent.
Okay, my first question, which is there any development finance single-digit interest rate funding for any green or sustainability projects, that are available in Nigeria, or probably funds given to Nigerian banks for interested companies to approach to be able to access those funds in terms of loan facility, whether it's central bank or AFDB or even the World Bank or whichever development finance.
So unfortunately, and I really apologize, I'm not able to provide any specifics. I don't know, I can't categorically say who is doing any single digits interest rates bond projects, unfortunately. But I believe that, like how I earlier mentioned, most of this information is fine. I would think that an AFDB would be keen on this sort of projects. So I definitely.
Yeah, sorry, but your audio was breaking out. So I think the main thing is this, right? They develop the only place you get single digit financing anywhere in the world is the development guys, the development financing institutions, and how many are in Africa? So there are very, very few that you can count in Africa. But I would Google it, and you would get a link towards where you would get these funds in from. That's what I would say. If you get something and you want to see if you qualify, you want to understand it, I'm sure you can DM me. I can look at it for you. But it's going to be development finance institutions that you're going to get those single digit or long term to do this kind of projects. That's really where you are coming across because these are specialized things, and it's very, very, should we say, the guys that invest in this are not doing it because they want to create alpha or excess returns. They're actually doing it because they want to sort of tie in the capital markets to the normal good. I don't want to do good using the capital markets as a place or a platform to do good. So that means it's going to be a specialized, part of that whole capital markets, players and markets. But great question, guys. Hey, I know that I'll just take Grace to give us a closing. I'm not sure if she can. If not, choose a time.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Grace, welcome. How you doing? Okay, good. All right.
Thank you. Apologies for the network.
Not a problem. I've kept you guys for an hour, 30 minutes. Let me just have you do a general rundown, just to give us your to-goes, and then we'll get to time to do the same thing. If you want to ask any questions you've heard or you're able to come back in, please go ahead. But the floor is yours. Go for it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chizotam. Thank you, Shay. Thank you, Mr. Kylo, and everyone who's asked a question. The final question in terms of single digits, BOI has a facility for those in renewable energy. It's been around for a while. Do check them out and see if you qualify for that facility based on your project. And I know that they're also pushing a lot of green investments, and they are like, kind of a development bank of sorts, so you can check them out. I know the DBN is Development Bank of Nigeria is also trying to do some products around that, so we can watch out for it. But like Mr. Kylo said, there are very few, and we have to keep doing the research. As soon as they pop up, then we know if we're qualified, and then we're able to push it. I want to thank everyone who's been able to stay through and listen. And I want to thank you so much, Mr. Kylo, for pushing this subject. It is spaces and conversations like this, like Chizotam said earlier, that help us build that mindset shift in terms of how we invest and where we put our money and how it matters, not just for our bank accounts, but for the environment and for our communities and for our nations as we grow. The only thing I want to add to everything that has been said is there's a lot of potential in the sustainability space. They've predicted about 75 million jobs that could be created. We see it continue to grow, even just by virtue of where we are as a continent. This is our one ticket to develop ourselves the right way without, because what's the
Losing you, Grace. Losing you, and you're
point of developing, of creating development that... Okay, am I back?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So what's the point of creating development if we cannot live to see it, and if everybody has respiratory infection, and the sun is so hot you can't go out? So I mean, this is our best way to develop ourselves. So I encourage everyone who is in Lagos, who can make it down to Lagos June 19, to attend the conference at the Landmark Event Center. You can go to our website, CAF.Africa. That's CAAF for the footballers and the football fans in the house. I know you'll not forget it. So CAAF.Africa. And you can register, and you can also tell us if you're going to be there and if you'll be attending through a prompt that will come to you. We're so excited about this, and we really hope that we can continue to make that business case for investing in green, for investing in sustainability. I want to thank you, Chizotam, for your expertise, and you, Mr. Kylo. So thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Appreciate you so much, Grace. Thank you so much. Chizotam, you've got the floor. Just give us your closing remarks, and again, thanks to you for being here.
Very much for having me. Just to say that I think these sorts of conversations are very important. It's important that we keep on having these kind of dialogue falls in this area, and it's definitely something that you can consider research in this area. You don't know what breakthrough you can discover in terms of policy development or even just structuring. You get a financier. Now it's a good time to be open and be willing to invest in this kind of projects. If you're a financial advisor, these are the kind of things you want to push to SEC, explaining the importance of these deals so they can get to the market. If you are a lawyer like myself, either or you are supporting financial advisors or the issuers, it's important that we tighten up the legal documentation to ensure that we're fully complying with the SEC rules and also any other regulatory requirements that are there. and ensuring that the agreements are well drafted to capture all the requirements in terms of the proceeds and articulating the kind of projects that to be funded with these investments. And if you are a creator, if you are an employer of labor, you can also look for ways in which in your businesses, in your day-to-day activities, you are actually reducing your fossil fuel consumption and switching to more sustainable options. The way you manage your waste, the way you power your buildings, and just the little things. Even as citizens, I believe that there are things that we can do, each of us, every day to contribute to this cause. So once again, thank you very much for having me, and I'm looking forward to the conference. Thank you very much.
Excellent, guys. Thanks, Grace. Thank you, Chizotam. All the folks that are listening, thank you so much. We've got the CAF conference coming up, guys. Let me give you the dates one more time so you can plan to attend. I've been sharing that on my handle and on Facebook and Instagram. That is going to be June the 9th. June the 9th from... that's for today.
June 19th.
June 19th. Thanks for the save, Grace. Yeah, so June 19th, if you can make it, even if you can't be there physically, log in, network. Go as a student, see if you can log in, right? See if you can log in and network, and also see if you can make some friends there. That would really help what you're doing way out there in Owerri. So guys, try to be in the know, try to follow the environment. I mean, the environment is one thing that we can't run away from. See, this weekend we're doing the environment because we have to invest in the environment first. You see what's happening from the deserts, from the north, deserts are coming down. You see from the south, ocean surges. So things are changing, and we've got to invest or try to, if possible, make money off these changes. I'm just being honest here. We've got to understand what's happening in the market. I've been buying carbon credits for a while now because I just said, if the Biden guys are going to do a lot of all this green push, carbon credits are going to be a place that's going to have a lot of new investments, and it's been very, very profitable just buying those carbon credits, because when you buy them, in essence, you are getting ahead of the game, and when the corporations need them, they're going to buy them from you. So it's more like it's demand driven, more or less, but that demand is real because the climates or the effect of a changing climate are evident across the board. We can't deny the floods, we can't deny the hurricanes, we can't deny the heat waves that are going across the world. It's one planet that we have, and the capital market does play a key role in bringing out products that you can use to trade carbon, to stop emissions, to make, to force corporations to think before they pollute the atmosphere. That's what the capital market can do. That's one good thing with capitalism. Once you price everything in, you are able to determine demand and supply for good. And that's what we talked about today, guys. So thanks for being here. I appreciate all of you guys here. I'll see you guys again, same time next week, 7 p.m. on a Sunday, where we're talking money, capital markets, and of course, personal finance and the economy. My name is Kalu Aja. I'll let you guys go now. Thanks, Chizotam. Thanks, Grace. You guys have a great conference, and you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you, guys, and bye.